you start by telling me a little bit about your academic background? So, what year you are currently in school, and also the subject that you were most interested in pursuing?
So right now I am in 12th grade, and as of right now in college, I do want to study public health.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your interest in public health, but also how that relates to what you did in CCIR.
So with public health, I've really been interested in a lot of like the gendered aspects of public health, which kind of plays into how the program at CCR has kind of like shaped my interests. Since I'm doing a program on gender and health like inequality, and I think it just blends all of my interests really well and takes like the gender studies and the sociology aspects and blends it with the health.
So, are you doing the Future Scholar option or the one-on-one?
The future scholar.
So, within that, can you tell us a little bit about the specific course you're taking and what that's been like?
Yeah, so the specific course I've been taking is like intersections between health and gender. And it's been like really enlightening, I guess I could say, that there's so many different aspects to health and gender and how they play into one another, and really the intersectionality between them and so many other factors of life that I really have never explored before. And I think this was a perfect opportunity to take so many different ideas and kind of blend them together into one course.
Yeah, when you talk about health and gender, is that more related to health outcomes or is it health treatment? So, what about health? Like, what area in the health sphere are you looking at the gender disparities?
So the course overall, we've discussed a wide range of things from like plastic surgery to disability to simply affording healthcare. Right now, what I'm working on is the effect of social and cultural determinants on single mothers and how that affects their access to healthcare.
Mhm.
So really, we've taken a look at it from so many different angles, and I think that's been like really great seeing how there's so many different like lenses to look at it through, and health doesn't have to mean just like your regular physician or like breaking a bone. It means so much more than just that.
How are we able to go from, from my understanding is that the course is more exploratory, while still, diving to specifics. So how are we able to go from a more broad exploration to the thesis on single mothers and health?
So really my research topic started off about as broad as the course. I wanted to look at cultural determinants and how they affect healthcare. And the more you think about it, like the term healthcare itself is so broad, and who are you talking about? Because experiences are different for single mothers and single fathers and children and really people across the world. So knowing that and having explored that throughout the course, I kind of narrowed it down to something that really I haven't looked at before and that I found intriguing. I know Dr. Guzel, she was like, maybe pick a more specific point or a more specific type of person. And so when she mentioned single mothers, I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. Like I've never even thought of healthcare and being a single mother because I know there's so many different aspects to being a single mother that
Mm.
it kind of like is kind of maybe brushed under the rug, and it's something I wanted to explore.
Yeah, so it sounds like the professor had, um, sort of a role in the guiding of narrowing down of your research topic. So can you speak a little bit more about your relationship with Dr. Gazelle and, how that has, I guess, evolved over the course of the program?
Definitely. I mean, in the beginning, obviously, like talking to a professor that teaches at like Cambridge University, like obviously that's scary and it's intimidating as like just like a random high schooler from New Jersey. But I think that like getting to know her over the past couple of weeks and months, it's been like very, I think, important to see that we are just as interested in the subject as she is, and that she's really just here to teach us and help us learn and help us explore topics that maybe we haven't even considered before. And I think that her pointing out things in my initial presentation on my research topic and saying this can be more specific, or maybe you should take a look at it from this perspective, I think that really helped me and challenged me, like thinking wise. And it kind of helped me be like, oh, like there's so many different paths I can go with this. And I think I should choose one for right now and maybe explore another later.
So it sounds like she really was able to lead you with her own, um, I would say, curiosity and passion, and using that to also inspire you to further, I guess, dive into the readings because it is a lot of readings that you have to do to put together a research paper, and then using her expertise to sort of help you pinpoint what direction you should go in. So then transitioning more into the actual research process. Have you had any research background prior to joining CCIR?
So I have had quite a bit of research background. I've done two other research papers previous to this one. So I think they started off really basic, and I think it's getting more and more mature as I go. And this is definitely the most, I guess, in-depth and sophisticated project that I've done so far, which makes me really excited to have this experience and get to see my progress as I've done research. So I don't know if you want me to go into some of the things I've done before or leave it at that, but yeah.
Let's actually hear a little bit about what you've done before, just because I know a lot of prospective students are interested in knowing the extent of the students who have been admitted, like their background.
Yeah, so I started off working with a PhD student as my mentor, and she really helped me kind of just like see the basics. And so I did a study with through interview with some LGBTQ leaders in the community. So I talked to a couple athletes like Joanna Lohman, and I've talked to a couple business owners, and I wrote a paper on how their identity as a LGBTQ individual affected their role in leadership and attaining that role. So that was kind of like my first project. And then after that, I did another project with a different professor from Columbia University as my mentor. And I researched the effect of like nonprofits and how they play a role in the protection of those seeking abortions. And so, like technological surveillance and how reproductive privacy is sometimes kind of like a sticky topic. And I think that it kind of helped me learn how to use like databases and like online research and use that to kind of extract and analyze information. And so now here I am on my third research paper working on the healthcare and cultural determinants for single mothers.
Yeah, I can definitely see the thread throughout your research projects. A lot of it has to do with empowering and uplifting marginalized identities. And then I guess a bulk of it also has to do with this question of wellness,
Yeah.
and what that means both in the corporate sphere, but also, in the academic sphere or, within the healthcare sphere. And so given your past two research experiences that also sounded like involved a lot of, I guess, initiative, how would you say this current, project with CCIR is different or similar?
I'd say it's definitely different in that you get a lot more background on the topic itself before you begin your research. Like having courses with Dr. Guzel and learning about all the different aspects of healthcare kind of opened my eyes to more ideas. Whereas with other things, I kind of just jumped into it and I didn't know nearly as much about the topic as I do right now with this research project. But I think either way, it's still difficult and it still takes a lot of time and practice and it I enjoy it, but it does take a lot of effort and I've realized that even as you keep going, it doesn't make it any easier. It just makes it more specific to what you enjoy.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It's really just the beginning of your academic career, and so I guess the deeper you dive into it, and people say like the more you know about what you don't know. So it's just
Exactly.
ever expanding. And I'm wondering if you can speak more to just like the amount of work, right, that you put into this research, given that you're in the very beginning of this academic journey. So how much, on average, do you expect yourself to commit to this process, especially if you're going for some kind of a conferencing or publication? I don't know if that's, on your radar.
Yeah, so the goal is to publish, but we'll see when that time comes. But um, really, I think that is really hard to balance with school going on right now. The other two projects I did were during the summer, which made it tremendously easier to focus a lot more time and energy into my research. But this program, doing it during my senior year of high school, it's been a little difficult, I won't lie. I mean, it's kind of hard to balance everything. But, I mean, a couple hours a week, like, even, like, if it's just 3, like, looking into your topic and reading a couple, um, papers and just analyzing them a little bit. Honestly, I find it enjoying and it's kind of soothing to read these papers and kind of analyze things that I'm actually interested in rather than things that I have to do for school. So, a couple hours a week is, I'd say, at least in the beginning of my research when I'm just starting off, a good place, and then as I keep writing, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter, you never know.
Yeah, I think that the point you made about, you know, liking it more than the stuff that you do at school, is actually something that would probably really resonate with a lot of students. I think sometimes they get really intimidated by just the sheer amount of workload they have at school, and then they can't even imagine adding anything on top of that. But I guess what you're saying is when you lead with like a genuine curiosity and genuine interest, even though it is still time, somehow it feels, can I use the word rewarding to almost
Yes,
describe that?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's also what I look forward to most about going to college next year is that I get to study something that I'm genuinely interested in public health, and I don't have to just take all the same, like, history and, like, science and, like, things that I don't necessarily wanna learn. I don't have to take as many of those classes, and I get to focus on things that I'm genuinely interested in, like this research.
Yeah. Although I will say, I think sometimes learning about what you don't like helps you identify what you don't like. So that
Yep.
sometimes, because
Definitely.
sometimes it's an elimination, right? It's hard to just sit there and be like, what am I interested in? So you might just want to start with what am I not interested in? Okay, well, history.
Right.
Uh, yeah. So, is there anything that, I didn't get to ask you about, but, you do think that would be, important to share with prospective students, or especially something that maybe you know now that you didn't know back then, but would have really helped you if you knew back then?
I think really just be willing to, like, learn new things and, like, keep your options open because you really never know what you're gonna enjoy, and honestly, my I guess, career in gender studies started off in, like, an English class, and I was never really a big English person, like, I can write a good essay, I can analyze a book, but it wasn't my favorite thing to do. But then we read the Yellow Wallpaper. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but that, like, changed my perspective on, like, English class and, like, gender studies, and it kind of, like, opened my eyes to a completely new field that I've never, like, looked into before, and now here I am, like, studying gender, and now I have my own organization, Tampon Express, where we take, like, menstrual hygiene products to, like, low-income communities, and I've taken that interest in gender studies and, like, branched it out into so many different parts of my life. So I think just, like, being open and realizing that there's gonna come something your way that maybe you didn't expect, but it'll probably change your life, and that's what this did to me.
Yeah, and so for, I guess, those of us who haven't read the Yellow Wallpaper, it's really about, the idea of the patriarchy and a woman essentially trapped behind the Yellow Wallpaper. And so there's a lot of this undoing. And again, I can totally see how like a lot of your projects have sprung again from this thread of just empowerment and wellness. Um, so I really love that because I think the point that you illustrated also touches upon the idea of the beauty of interdisciplinary work.
Mhm.
And so, just because you're doing English doesn't mean that it has nothing to do with, sociology or even mathematics or whatever it is that you're interested in. So I think your advice on keeping an open mind is honestly so mature
Mhm.
and I think is going to be, very inspiring to a lot of our students who are watching this interview.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Um, I mean, I always started off thinking that I was like a biology, like, a hard sciences person, and then this kind of like completely changed like my entire track of how I had planned out like college and my career. So honestly, like, I think another thing is just don't be afraid of like changing because I know that's also scary. Like, you have this whole idea of how your life's gonna go, and then it's like washed. And so I think just keeping an open mind and be willing to accept change are just two of the biggest things that I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of times the most rewarding experiences come from the unexpected. And if you hold on too tightly to what you have planned for yourself, that makes you sort of, pigeonhole or just sort of tunnel vision and miss out on a lot of the exciting opportunities that you might have.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Kavya, for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. And I wish you all the best on, the process of showcasing your work. I hope that more people get to read your articles.
Thank you.